This limited Kintsugi Heroes podcast series was made possible through grant funding provided by the New South Wales Department of Communities and Justice Connecting Seniors Grant Program. If you'd like to find out more about Kintsugi Heroes, head to kintsugiheroes.com.au. Welcome to our Kintsugi Heroes special series, Connecting Seniors, where we share the experiences of ageing Australians to create connections across our communities. In this episode of Connecting Seniors, we're revisiting a conversation from Kintsugi Heroes with a senior who is making an impact on the world or connecting with their community. This week, we hear Avalon Clark's chat with Jeni Vercoe.
I always want to acknowledge the guests that come on to Kintsugi Heroes because it takes bravery and a bit of gumption to come on and know that your story is being recorded, both audio and video, and it's a lot. And I know that not everybody feels comfortable doing this. It's why only a few actually come forward, and yet it's just such a powerful experience, and it really does help people. So I just want to acknowledge you and thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Well, this is about you and your story. So how about you take me back to where your story begins and then start the story for me?
I suppose I had always wanted to be a nurse, but never thought, I was never confident about that. I didn't think I was smart enough. I think, oh no, they're very big words. I don't think I could do any of that. And so I never pursued it. It wasn't till I had been a stay-at-home mum for 14 years with my boys, which to me is a great privilege. And eventually my marriage broke down, and separation, divorce, that sort of thing. And I did not know, I mean, to me, I thought, oh, well, nursing's all in the universities now. Forget it, you've missed the boat. And I thought, well, I'll keep looking in the paper. I'll see something will come up and jump out at me, and that's what I'll do. Because I really felt I needed to set a good example to my boys, that I wasn't just going to sit on my backside and do nothing. And I had to show them that, well, okay, you cop a kick, but you got to pick yourself back up. And then one day looking in the paper, there was an ad for the enrolled nursing course, which I was totally oblivious to that. And I looked at it and I looked at the criteria and I thought, oh, I could do that. I'm sure I could do that. Having absolutely zero self-confidence and zero self-esteem, I thought, yeah, righto. So I applied, got all my paperwork in, and I got accepted. And that terrified me because I thought it was going back to full-time study, full-time work. I hadn't worked for 22 years or something like that. I'd had 14 years at home. It was scary. And I actually had some friends that stepped in and they had an employment type agency, and they just ran me through a few things and said, and I said, I've got to do a numeracy and literacy test. I went, I hate maths. What am I going to do? And then, no, Jen, it'll be fine, and surprisingly, I got through that, and I actually was accepted. And much to my amazement, and even when I got through the course, I remember going up to one of the lecturers at the graduation and saying, who'd have thought I'm here? And she said, well, I knew you would be. And I was like, really? I didn't. So, and during that, it was 12 months. During that time, there were lots of tears and tantrums, and that wasn't from the kids, that was from me. That was, what on earth possessed me to think I could do this? I can't do this. This is too hard. It's affecting the kids. It was hard work. It was a big change. It was a big change for them as well, to having mum around all the time, to all of a sudden get your own food. There's stuff in the freezer. Get your father to order your pizza. It was it was hard work. And surprisingly, I remember the first person I told that I was going to go into nursing, that I think I'd been accepted or something. And this was a person who had been a nurse for a long, long time. And her reaction surprised me. She, instead of encouragement, I got, "Oh, are you mad? What on earth are you thinking?" And I was quite shocked because she was the only person in this whole journey that did that. And I thought then, oh, that's a strange thing to say to someone. Like, I'm excited about this. This is a dream that I thought would never eventuate. And yeah, that was the reaction. And I kind of thought, well, you don't do that to people, even if you don't agree with what they're doing or you don't think they're even going to make it or whatever. To me, you don't steal their joy. You know, that seemed a bit harsh. So yeah, I got through that, and I then went on to do the community nursing course and got the second highest mark in the course in New South Wales. And then I thought, do I dare? It was kind of like I was on one side of the river and there were all these other things on the other side of the river that I thought, oh wow, I'd love to do that. But in the middle was this giant stepping stone that said registered nurse. And I thought, the only way I can get over there is I've got to do the registered nurses course, which was university. So there was this big, I don't know if I can do that. I'd be, never ever dreamt that I'd go to uni. And so I put in the application and I got in. I was accepted. And luckily, with the university that I went to, because I was already an enrolled nurse, they dropped the course to 2 years instead of 3. So again, 2 years of a few tantrums and screaming at the computer and crying. And look, I think we all go through that. And I think it's quite all right to have a pity party, yell, scream, kick, whatever, get it out of your system, and then pick yourself up, dust yourself off and go, okay, I can do this. I've been doing it. I've got this far. I can keep going. And my boys, I have to say, and they were teenagers at the time, they were fabulous. They really were. And, the couple of friends and that were fantastic. And so as I got to the end of the registered nurses course, my father was diagnosed with cancer, with lung cancer, and it had already gone on to other parts of his body. So right towards the end of it, Dad was dying, basically. And I think I knew that when I become a registered nurse, as soon as I tell him I've achieved that, I knew he'd go. And he did, about a week later. And, I was dreading telling him, but I knew that's what he was hanging on for. And that's coming up to the anniversary on the 23rd of December. So, yeah, it was a hard thing that I had to keep going and I had to keep pushing. And, there was one subject that all of us were struggling with, and we all, I just said, I'll do extra coursework. I don't care what it is. I said, I'll pick it up, because I said, I cannot fail this course. I have to keep going. I got through that. I was accepted at the Mater Hospital to do my new grad position. I then did my theatre course. And all these years later, I still work in operating theatres at a day surgery. And in that time, a couple of years ago, I did my graduate certificate in anaesthetics and recovery as well, online. God, that was hard. That was hard. More tears and tantrums. It must just be something with me and computers. And my son, I had actually signed up for the grad cert, the diploma and the masters, and you could jump out of it any time you liked, like after each section if you wanted to. And I got to the end of the grad cert, and my youngest son said to me, "That's it, no more uni for you." He just said, "You're not doing any more uni, Mum, that's it." He said, "I can't take it anymore." And he was at uni at the time too, thank God, because it was the same uni. So he knew all the things, online. So I thoroughly agreed with him and just said, yeah, no more uni for me. Not doing that anymore. So here I am, coming up to 23 years now, and from someone who had zero confidence, I had zero identity in all, when I began, because I remember a friend saying to me, said, "I can see Matthew and Dan's mum, and I can see Glenn's wife." He said, "But where's Jeni?" And I hadn't kind of realised that I had disappeared completely. And of course, when my marriage broke up, I was totally lost. I was just no identity, not working, knowing I had to start all over again.
Thanks, Jen. And I've got a few questions. I want to take you back. So first of all, how long were you married for?
16 years.
Right. So tell me, did you have an identity when you got married?
Apparently. A girlfriend said to me when I told her that we'd split up, she said, now we might see the old Jeni back.
Mm.
And I hadn't even realised that I had just disappeared.
Mm. So the marriage breaking down was the catalyst for you to look inside yourself and say, well, not only do I need to do something for the sake of setting a good example for my kids, but I actually want to do something for me. Yeah?
Yeah.
How hard was that?
Very hard. When your self-esteem, when you've been made to feel like you are dumb, and you haven't been encouraged to do anything, and what would you know, kind of thing. You second guess yourself all the time, and you just don't have that confidence to think that you can do it.
So who told you that you weren't good enough?
The implications from the ex were there because he was a very high-ranking police officer, and he had university degrees, he had a law degree and all this kind of thing, and, you're just a little woman at home. I'll give you a little bit of money every week and that'll do you, kind of thing. And, my mum wasn't all that encouraging either. Dad was my rock in a quiet way. But I just didn't have, and I think because that side of things had come from childhood as well, that not having confidence to excel, I suppose, in anything, that impacts you right through life until I guess you wake up or that bell goes off in your head and you go, hang on a minute, I can do this.
So through your upbringing, did you have memories of either your mum or your dad or society around you sending you the message that, well, you're not going to be having a career like a man and you're not good enough? Was that what you heard?
Yeah. And so, and I think when I left high school, the majority of us left when we were 15, 16, fourth form, which is now year 10. And we all went to secretarial school. That was it. You're going to be a secretary till you find someone to marry, and then you'll have kids, and, that's your role in life. Yeah.
How did that make you feel at that point when you were 15, 16? Did you feel like there was something not right about this pathway, or, was there any messages internally?
I was a bit oblivious to it, I think. I think I kind of thought, oh, yeah, that's what you do, And I guess because my mum had stayed home since she was pregnant with me. So everyone around me had all the women in my life had stayed at home. So there really wasn't anything different to me. Like, now, goodness, they've got all the choices in the world. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah. Did you have expectations of what it would feel like to be a wife and a mother?
Yeah, I guess a little bit rose-coloured glasses in a way, the tall, dark, handsome husband, and lovely, and I was in awe of my ex. I have to say, I virtually, unrealistically and wrong of me to put him on a pedestal, because really you shouldn't do that with anybody, because you're setting them up for a fall and you're setting yourself up for disappointment. But yeah, things didn't go the way I thought they were going to go. He was married to the job and I was married to him. So it was kind of like there were two lives. There were the life I had with the boys, and we did everything together. And occasionally he popped into the frame. So, yeah, it was because he was on call 24/7. So it was that kind of thing.
So you were almost a single parent.
Yeah, and I think I said that to someone the other day. I've basically been a single parent all my life. So, and you have to look. I mean, the police force. If you're married to someone who is dedicated to the job, it's the same as any other of those services jobs, any of the military jobs, paramedics, that kind of thing. Is that's their life? Doctors even. They all miss important occasions, and you have to keep the fort going. That's the way it is, and you kind of sign up for that. But in all honesty, I mean, I was 21 when I got engaged, 22 when I got married. I really had no idea. So my fairy tale dreams of what it was going to be like kind of it didn't quite come to the way I thought it would.
Was it a very quick realization that it was a fairy tale wasn't true, or did it take time?
I think for years. I mean, even my eldest is now 36, and I remember bringing him home from hospital and putting him in the bassinet and just sitting there staring at him. And Glenn just went, "Oh well, I've got to go to uni now," and off he went. And I'm like, what if he wakes up? And I just thought, what do I do with him? I had no idea, absolutely zero idea. And he was gone. He was out the door. I mean, even during the '94 bushfires, he was off with the bushfires, and I'm left with 3 kids and a dog or a cat. I had, or both, one of the two. And it was like, and next thing we get a thing to evacuate, and I'm like, hang on. So, I had to be very organised.
Very.
So a lot of disasters were left to me.
Did that give you a sense of fulfillment and confidence in your increasing confidence that you were actually carrying out a really important role, even though you weren't in the workforce, but you were actually, a skilled and increasingly amazing parent?
Yeah, I think I could, I felt I could handle stuff. It wasn't, I wasn't one of these people that would just sit down and put my head in my hands and go, oh no, what do I do? I could kind of nut things out. And I think I got a lot of that from Dad, because Dad was very that sort of person. I think things changed 2 years before we split up. I lost my brother, and I lost him to suicide. And it, his engagement had broken up, and it was just a horrible time. And I remember thinking then, I'm never going to have my happiness dependent on another person. Sure, they can add to your happiness, but I'm not going to have it dependent on another person, because look what happened. And I started to think then, what would I do if Glenn left? How would I cope? And I thought, I'd be okay. I would be okay. Sure, I sat there for a little while thinking, oh, now what do I do? Because not having a job and being totally dependent on him. But yeah, you sort of, and you need time to think about it and to process it and nut it out. And yes, have your tears and have your feelings of hopelessness. But if you've got people that'll pick you up a bit, and I had the kids, I had to be strong for them because they'd lost their dad, basically. They'd not long lost their uncle who they loved dearly, and then to have their dad walk out the door. So I was dealing with their grief as well. But I always kept them connected to their dad. I, stuck his phone numbers on the wall next to the phone and said, ring him. Anytime you want to ring him, ring him. You want to see him, ring him and tell him you want to see him. So, there was no angst about the kids.
Sorry for the interruption. This is Ian Westmoreland, the founder of Kintsugi Heroes, and thank you for listening to this story from one of our amazing heroes. Our mission is for these stories to provide hope and inspiration to people experiencing life challenges, and to also educate the broader community on how best to provide support. If you would like to help us to continue to produce more hero stories and cover more adversity themes, we would welcome all donations. These can be made via our website, kintsugiheroes.com.au. The donate function is at the bottom of the homepage. We'd also welcome any feedback. You can email me direct using ian@kintsugiheroes.com.au. Now let's get back to the story.
I'd like to delve into a little bit of is it the imposter syndrome, or is it just the lack of self-confidence that you developed through your adult life and probably from younger years? So how hard was it for you then to make that decision that you were going to apply for that course when you saw it in the paper?
I thought I was very daring. I thought, oh, dare I do this? And I'm a bit, if I go for something and I get it, it's because I'm meant to get it. Like, if I'm not meant to get it, well, it won't happen. And so I suppose a part of me thought, oh, you won't get it. Don't be ridiculous. And yet when I did, it was like, oh, now what do I do? It was, this is a totally new world opening up. And it was a totally new world. It was, yeah.
Did you have to give yourself permission or get permission from somebody else to do it? Was that part of the process?
No, I did it. I think when I told Mum and Dad, Dad was fine. Dad was always fine. Mum, she was surprised. She didn't think I'd ever do that. She never thought you'd go into nursing, this sort of thing. So I don't know.
So it wasn't a judgment or like she didn't criticize you for it.
No. It was only this one girlfriend who said, "Are you mad?"
Yeah.
And I thought, I don't think so, but yeah, maybe I am. I don't know, And funnily enough, even when I went to do my graduate certificate, one of the doctors that I worked with said to me, "What are you doing that for?" And I thought, well, I'm one of your anaesthetic nurses. Wouldn't that be obvious? And I just want to know more so I can help you more. I don't know. And she said, oh, you should go and do something else totally different, And I thought, oh, that's a bit odd. So you will get people, that are going to be naysayers. They're going to be, I call them Captain Bring Down, that they're negative about what you want to do. And I don't know whether that is a jealousy on their part or they don't think you're up to the task, or I don't know. I don't know what it is. But you just got to ignore it, because I think if you want it bad enough, then it's your choice. Go and do it. You know, I've said to my
Yeah.
boys time and time again, I'll help you as much as I can, but you have to do the hard yards. And my boys are extraordinary young men who have gone through their own battles with different things, with injuries and surgeries that, it could have lost either of them at any time. And now, one's a senior audio technician and the other's a paramedic. So, I think, and I've never said a negative thing about what they're doing. I said, oh, well, okay, what else can you go and do that will help enhance what you want to do? So I probably drive them nuts because I keep coming up with things for them to do, make it better.
Where does that come from? Has that come as a result of you doing all of your studies and development of yourself?
I think so. And I think not getting the encouragement, I think, well, I'm going to encourage them.
Did you ever have a desire or a thought during your marriage that you wanted to do something other than just being a mum and a housewife?
No. And that was, I suppose that was the shock thing when it did end, that, this is what I do. I'm a mum. And even like when the boys were after my marriage had broken up, there were a lot more boys that I had an input into their growing up, because if they had a fight at home, they'd end up at my place. And I said to the boys, I don't want them sleeping in cars. I don't want them sleeping in parks. You tell them to come here, and I would feed them. And they didn't get off scot-free. I would sit them down and say, well, okay, tell me what happened. And sometimes I might say, well, you might owe your mum an apology on that one. And the funny thing was that we were all at one boy's 21st, and I had 3 mums come up to me and thank me for looking after their boys. I had no idea who these women were. I had to call one son over and go, who's that? And he said, oh, so-and-so's mum. And I'm like, oh, right, okay. I had absolutely no idea. But I wanted them to have a safe haven, that they knew that they could come and they would get food, they would get a bed, and they could stay however long. But I would also say to them, you need to think about what you said, because that might have been a bit unfair. So, to me, that was a mum, that's a mum thing. Because I suppose going back, I was never allowed to stay at other people's houses. People weren't allowed to come and stay at our house. And I didn't have that kind of relationship with my mum. And, Dad was an old-fashioned dad. He went to work, he came home, he had dinner, he mowed the lawn. And that was about it, sort of thing. So,
how pivotal was, I guess, those events leading up to your ex-husband leaving you, including your brother's passing, to help you be ready for the next phase of your life? Do you feel that they helped you?
Yeah, I think looking back, at the time, I think you're just treading water and you're just trying to keep your head above water and not drown in the sorrow and the anger and the disbelief and all of that stuff. And I think it's not till you look back and you think, wow, actually, if that hadn't happened, then that wouldn't have happened. And you can, sometimes it takes a little bit of time before you see the benefit of what you have actually been through.
Absolutely. Tell me about your kids. How have they talked to you about the mum that they saw as they got older after you started studying versus the mum up until, you said your youngest was 14?
Yeah, the youngest called me a doormat. He said, Mum, you're better than that, because I like I said, I had no self-esteem. He was quite vocal in his His encouragement is a different type of encouragement. It's, don't be a doormat. You can do that. What are you carrying on about? His brother is much more gentle. Oh, whatever you think, Mum, that kind of thing. And now, they'll come up and give me a hug and you say thank you for your help and that kind of thing. So I get a pat on the head because they're quite tall boys
tall.
and I'm not. Yeah, and they like to pat me on the head. And I guess don't pat your mother.
Through the years since you started your nursing career, have you met other women who were a similar age, still stuck in the disempowered relationship, marriage? Have you seen them? Have you talked with them? Has there been any kind of ability to transfer your learnings or share with them?
Yeah, I've had a couple of instances where talking to people and just in general conversation, they'll say, oh, yeah, I've got my divorce hearing coming up this week and I don't know what I'm going to do. And, and a similar vein to what I'd been through. And I just said, look, you can do it. And I say, I went into nursing when I was 40. If you can do it, really. Or people that'll say, oh, I always wanted to be a nurse. I wish I'd done that. And I go, well, what's stopping you? And they look at you, and I go, what's stopping you? I was a single mum and I was 40. Like, hadn't worked, I had been at home for 14 years. Yeah, sure, it's going to be hard. But, I mean, even lately we've had some students in at work and one is 55. So she's just starting her nursing career at 55. There's been people I've come across that have had issues with domestic violence and too scared to leave and that kind of thing because of this very thing. What would I do? How will I cope? I don't have any skill set. I don't, and I just say you actually do. You'd be surprised. And I see with a lot of the older nurses, I think we have more street smarts. We're not, we see things a bit differently. So we have a lot to give to any career, really, because, we just have that life experience, I think.
Looking back on the journey, Jeni, what's been, I guess, the biggest gift for you?
Probably myself, finding me and the strength that I didn't know I had. And even, even things now, I think, well, you've been through worse. What are you whinging about? Just get on with it.
What helped you get through the tough times? Did you have someone, friends, what was it? Did you have something outside of yourself to help pull you through?
I'd say a combination of that. The boys, a couple of friends. I find I can make better decisions sometimes if I just go and spend some time by myself, even just sitting by the water, or if I go away I'm renowned for going on holidays on my own. And I have a few girlfriends that go, oh, I couldn't do that. How do you do that? And I go, oh, I couldn't stand having anyone with me to drive me nuts. I don't want to do what they want to do. I want to do what I want to do. And I just find that if there's something bothering me or I've got to make a decision or if I spend some time away and just sit and think without all the other stuff going on, then, I can usually come to a decision or feel better about something or even feel better about waiting. I've even said to the kids sometimes, if they've been troubled about something, I go down the beach, go for a walk down the beach. And it's just something about that, the fresh air, the water, I think it just clears your head a bit. And, you know, I said to one the other day, have you thought about meditating? He said, don't give me that crap. I said, no, it's actually very good.
You never know. Something
You
might
never
happen
know.
one day and you might turn around and start. That's right. That's right. Jeni, I love your story. I love your strength and your tenacity and everything that you've done to create your life when life threw you a lemon and a curveball and, you know, you picked yourself up and found yourself again, which is such a rewarding thing and just so heartwarming to see. Because a lot of women, I think, don't. Like you've seen, especially in your generation. I see it from I think it's probably similar age to my mum. Maybe you're a bit younger than my mum, and they were very similar, stuck in these very traditional marriages, and didn't know who they were.
And you see it too when a partner passes away. If one has relied on the other, they're lost. They're totally lost. They don't know what to do. You know, I saw it with my own mother when my dad passed. She had no idea. And she used to go on about, I used to be quite a capable person before your father, you know. And it wasn't that Dad deliberately took it away from her. It's just that he was used to organising and being an organiser and being a supervisor at work, and he just got on with it. And I think too, when men retire, because they've been in those roles, they retire and then they just take over, which I know drives a lot of women up the wall. Because they tell me, they go, oh, I'm going to kill him if he doesn't. We've even got one nurse who came back to work. She said, I retired. She said, but I had to come back to work. She said, I'll kill him if I stay with him. I went, oh, okay. And she only works, a couple of hours a week, but obviously it's enough. So, yeah, I think, sometimes people can be quite lost, and it is quite a scary thing to suddenly find yourself on your own But you have got it. You have got it inside you. You just got to find it, and you've got to find what really. My son hates me saying, "What's your passion?" He said, "Oh, well, what a load of rubbish." I said, "No." I said, "What's something you really, really want to do?" He said, "I want to be a rock star." He said, "That's never going to happen." And well, you never know. Keep trying, Duff. So, yeah, I think if it's something that you really want to do, you just got to figure out how to do it. Because I think they don't, like myself, when I thought I'd missed the boat with nursing, it was this ad in the paper that changed everything. And I didn't even realise that there was that level of nursing, that there were ENs. There's AINs, ENs, RNs, you go up the ladder. And I didn't even realise that. So you may not even realise that what you want to do, there may be another way to get into it than the way that you traditionally thought it was. So, research it, look for it, find out, ask questions.
Yeah, love it. I was actually going to ask you, Jeni, as my last question, which is if there's anyone listening to this who can resonate with any part of your story and being in that space where they just don't believe in themselves, think they're not good enough, maybe they're in a disempowering relationship, what would you like to say to them?
Trust that inner voice. Don't let someone steal your joy. That is your joy. If they're trying to steal your joy, it's because something's wrong in their heart or, in their life, or there's a jealousy, or there's something that they've missed out on somewhere along the line. And it's not your fault. That's their stuff. Let them own it and let them deal with it. But you do what you want to do, because I just think everyone's here for a reason. Everyone's got their little part to play, and it's like a big puzzle, and we all sort of fit in somewhere. And you could end up saving someone's life. You could end up speaking to someone that is down, and you stop them doing something that they'll that would possibly regret later or whatever. And I just think, just listen to that voice inside, really, because even if it's just a little tiny flame, fan the flame. It'll end up a roaring fire. Look out. I come up with ideas all the time, and they're like, oh, God, she's off again. I think the boss is ready to put a lock on the door.
Oh, Jeni, I think your ideas are great, and what a beautiful, strong, empowering message to leave our listeners with. Thank you so much. Thank you. Really enjoyed hearing your story, and I love the example that you're setting and the way that you brought up your boys, and just hearing about where they're at, and that's beautiful relationship you have with them and everything that you've done. It's just more power to you. I'm so happy that you found yourself, you know yourself, you love yourself, and you're living your life in the most, I guess, self-loving way.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, and having the opportunity to do that, to say that.
You're really welcome. It's been a pleasure to have you on. So, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Connecting Seniors, a Kintsugi Heroes special series. Thank you to Colin Lilly for permission to use Broken as our theme music for this series. If you enjoyed this conversation, share the podcast with a friend and let us know by leaving a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to support Kintsugi Heroes and the stories we share, head to kintsugiheroes.com.au and follow the instructions to make a tax-deductible donation. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.